It's time for another session debrief. Hey there, Dan Candell, your anxiety relief guy, and I help entrepreneurs, executives, and CEOs have more breakthroughs than breakdowns by helping them work through their anxiety that many of them don't even realize they have. And I have a day of sessions. I like to turn on my camera just to give a little debrief. This accomplishes a couple of things. Number one, it helps you understand a little bit more about the process. And number two, it can also give you tips, tricks, strategies, and techniques that you can start implementing into your life. So let's get started. So I just had two clients, and one was online, one was in person. And I have a lot of requests for clients. So what I do is I give people who are in my community priority to book sessions. And right now, the only way you can book a session with me is if you are in my group community, and then you can book sessions with me from there. So both of these people are in my community, and if you are interested in joining and you really want to do the inner work, you want to work on your inner game so that way it spills over into positive areas of your life, then hit me up, send me an email, dancandell@gmail.com, and just let me know that you saw this video and you want to be included in the community, and I'll let you know the different levels and stuff like that. So here's what happens. Usually a wind will blow and it will cause all people who have the same problems to come in to either my office or into sessions or into my program. And recently, I've been seeing a lot of people who they feel like they're just overwhelmed, they're overloaded, and they're trying to be everything to everyone. They're trying to get everything done all at once, all at the same time. And they describe it as like they have all these tabs open in their mind, like 50 tabs open at the same time. And they have so many responsibilities. And what is happening, it's causing stress, overwhelm, and that's leading to burnout and mental and physical exhaustion. And that's no bueno. That's a bad situation, specifically if you're high up on the corporate ladder, you have teams to lead, you're an entrepreneur, and you're growing your business. That can be a really toxic situation to business growth or to lead your team. So here's what you do instead. This is the coaching and advice that I gave to two clients that just came and had these problems, because it was starting to spill over into other areas of their life where they weren't able to lead their team, they weren't able to be present for their families, they weren't engaged in their relationship, and it was really holding them back. They had sleep issues, they had a lot of tension in their bodies, and believe me, when you're not feeling good, you're not leading good, you're not growing good. I'll also tell you about what the clients said after they had left, because I ask people to email me at the end of each day, and it's the end of each day and I got the emails, so I want to share those with you as well. So first things first. First person that I worked with was online, and I love working with this person. I've worked with this person about 5 or 6 times, and we work on something new each session. And I'll tell you, like, this person is a superstar. This person is a realtor, and absolutely love working with this person. However, what started happening is the anxiety started to manifest physically, and when it started to shift and affect other areas of this person's life. And this person didn't even know that they were struggling with anxiety. They didn't even know it was anxiety until after we started working together. I know this person is into physical fitness. So I asked this person, I said, okay, share with me what your workout is like. And they looked at me and they're like, what do you mean? Like, what does that have to do with my overwhelm? Like, I have a personal trainer and everything like that I work with. What does that have to do with how I'm feeling now? Just go with me. What does your workout look like? And they said, well, I have like different sets, and I do like 6 to 8 different exercises when I go to the gym. I said, right. Do you blow through all those exercises and you do one on top of another, or do you take breaks between? She's like, no, I do breaks between each set. I usually take a 60-second to a 2-minute break between each set. I said, okay, what happens if you don't take the break? She said, well, then I get muscle fatigue. I can't continue with the exercises. I can't continue with my workout. And she said, then I could potentially get injured. I said, right, and then what happens? She said, then I won't be able to work out ever again if I have a bad injury. I said, yeah, or it's going to take you a really long time for you to recover from that injury, right? She said, yeah. I said, okay, talk to me about your work day. She's like, well, I have meetings stacked on top of meetings, and then I go home and I'm taking care of my kids, and I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do this. I said, okay, how's that working for you? And she goes, it's not. So I said, your day right now is stacked. And what has to happen is we need to put some mindset resets in there. We need to put some mental breaks in there so that we don't have a mental breakdown. And she's like, I feel like I'm on the verge of one right now. I'm like, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. So what I ended up doing, I taught her what she can do when she's transitioning from one thing to another. So that way it's like a mindset reset. Now, these are things that they take me about 20 minutes to teach each person. But when they do them, it only takes about 1 to 2 minutes to do. So it's about taking these little mental breaks so that way you can separate from what you're doing. So when you're going from one activity to another, or one meeting to another, you go in with a fresh state of mind instead of carrying all the energy and stacked one on top of another, on top of another, on top of another. So I taught this client 2 different strategies that she can do. One for like a mental break, and one to separate from going from one activity to another. So this client emailed me and said about 2 hours after the session, she said, I had more clarity, more focus than I felt in a very long time. And she said, I can't wait to implement these strategies long term to see how they work out long term. So I will report back because I teach these to a lot of my clients and I get tons and tons of feedback. And all the feedback I get is really positive. When I get feedback that's like no bueno, or when people say it's not working, I say, have you been doing it? And they say, no, I haven't. That's why it doesn't work. The good thing about these self-hypnosis exercises that I teach is the more you use them, the better they work, the less that you have to use them. So that's the power of this. So client number 2 comes in very similar issues. However, this time it was affecting sleep issues. And when things start to interrupt your sleep patterns, it can be very frustrating, and then you get low on energy, you start procrastinating, you can't rub 2 brain cells together to have a normal conversation, and it is exhausting to do the simplest of tasks. So oftentimes we avoid those tasks because they're just so mentally draining and exhausting. Then we start to over worry, and we start to doubt ourselves, and we start to question things, all because that low-level anxiety does affect our sleep issues. So what did I do in this situation? Well, with this particular client, we did a lot of deep diving, and we realized that a lot of the issues, they didn't really have a lot to do with what was going on presently now, but the issues that this person was having was a direct result from what had happened previously in their life. So we worked through a little bit using some techniques where we did some subconscious rewiring and some subconscious reprogramming. We worked with this person's perception of the past and how it influenced what happens in the future and at night. And using this subconscious rewiring technique, it usually brings emotions to the surface in a really powerful way. And this is hypnosis. However, I do hypnosis in a very different way than most other people do. And the way I do hypnosis, it's a very modernized approach, but I also do a lot of pre-work before we do the hypnosis. Hypnosis is actually a very small part of the process, because if we don't do all the work before we do the hypnosis, then the hypnosis session will not be as effective. So when a person thinks like they're just gonna come into the office or they're gonna see me on Zoom, I'm gonna go, on my count of 3, you're never gonna be anxious again. You're gonna have laser focus. You're gonna have extreme confidence. You'll sleep like a baby every night for the rest of your life, and you'll never worry about anything again. Oh, and you'll have the mindset of a multimillionaire. 1, 2, 3. Like, that's what people expect when they go and see a hypnotist or when they come in for a hypnosis session. It's my job to let them know that's not very realistic. However, there is some foundational work that we need to do first to make all the stuff that they want to do work with hypnosis. So my approach to hypnosis is very different than the traditional old school approach. So when you work with me, you get a very different experience, and one that, like I said, there's a lot of coaching involved at first to make sure that the hypnosis is going to work effectively. So what did this client report? Well, this client reported after the session that emotions came to the surface. However, The emotions that came to the surface were so powerful because this person has not felt emotions for a very long time or was not able to process them. And this person felt like they were finally able to process through the emotions and get really deep insight into themselves. They're going to help them sleep better, and they're also going to help them focus better and feel less demanding of their own time and to be kinder to themselves. What does this have to do with the long-term process this person makes? So both of these clients that I'm talking to you about, they're going to be long-term positive effects and implications of the short-term work that they're doing. Because what it's doing, it's rewiring their mind, it's also working with their nervous system, and those two things together, mind and nervous system, also influence the body. So when we work with mind and nervous system together, it also has a carryover effect to the body, so the physical manifestations of stress and anxiety won't be there as much anymore because they're paying attention to the emotions and to the signals that their body is trying to send them, and they're doing the inner work necessary and required. So what do you do if you find yourself in situations like this? Because I'm sure you've been in this situation before, or if you have a life challenge or an experience that's difficult, you might get overly stressed, overly anxious, or you might notice some performance issues like motivation issues, procrastinating, even self-medicating, or going into anxious habits. And the reason why it's hard to grow in those times is because you're not paying attention to what's going on inside. You're not paying attention to what your body is telling you. And oftentimes you're not giving your mind, your body, or the nervous system the rest that it needs and it deserves. So we can actually accelerate the process of mindset resets and of mental breaks, so that way you don't have mental breakdowns, you have more breakthroughs and breakdowns. And that's exactly what I teach people, how to grow even when the shit hits the fan, and how to grow even when you feel like you're really anxious, stressed, and depressed, and how to not just grow your business, but also grow personally as well. So that's a little insight into the 2 sessions I did today. And like I said, I'm doing my best to be proactive about whenever I have sessions to pull up my camera and to just debrief, so that way it gives you some insight into them as well. So again, I have a community that I would absolutely love if you were to join. So consider this an open invitation. If you'd like to join the community so that way you can grow past and beyond your limitations, let me know, dancandell@gmail.com. And just let me know you saw this video and you're interested in joining the community. I'll hook you up with someone from my team so that way they can share the different levels of the community that we have open and available. So that way you can get exclusive access to sessions, to all my content, and everything like that. As always, my friends, be well, do good, be true to who you are, and happy healing.
Thanks for joining me on the Anxiety Relief Revolution. Make sure you follow me on TikTok @AnxietyReliefGuy and on Instagram @DanCandell. If you watch this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, comment, and hit that like button. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, make sure you subscribe and leave a 5-star review. It helps me help you and help more people. And as always, be well, do good, and be true to who you are.